Hi, I'm Joe DioGuardi, the founder of Truth in Government. Truth in Government is committed to telling you the truth about government spending. And the way that has to be done is to bring principles that have been promulgated in the accounting profession by professionals over the years to government. It's not being done today. And as a result, Congress especially is getting away without the standards that we need to tell you the truth about real government spending. So Truth in Government wants to bring accountability, fiscal responsibility, transparency, the rules that the Security and Exchange Commission imposes on publicly traded companies to the U.S. government. And that will stop the Congress from lying to you about what is really going on with the federal deficits and the national debt. You know, the current financial crisis required a bailout. Many people didn't like it, depending upon how they saw their political philosophy. Some felt it was too much intervention by government in the private sector. But it's obvious that we needed to do something, because here we had the head of the Federal Reserve System, Mr. Bernanke himself, saying that based on what he saw, that we may have been 3 days away from the collapse of the entire economy here in the United States. And obviously, if this economy collapses, it becomes a worldwide issue. So here you have this crisis in mortgages that was created by bad accounting or poor accounting and lack of oversight. Now, when I look at this, I look at the future and I see another gathering storm. It's not World War II, but it could be even worse from an economic point of view, because I now see that the accounting system that we've stayed on, this Mickey Mouse cash basis, has disguised the real cost of government, and in effect has created, in my mind, a subprime national debt. Why do I say that? Well, we now know, because it's been cited several times, that only two items, Medicare and Social Security, account for $53 trillion in unfunded and unrecorded liabilities on what should be the books of the United States of America. But since they don't have outside auditors coming in, it's hard to tell whether we have a set of books at all. So it's not the $9.3 trillion that you've heard. That's the bonded debt. That's debt that is covered by Treasury bills, U.S. notes, U.S. bonds. And even there, only $5.3 trillion of that is in the hands of the public, and over $1 trillion, by the way, owned by China, and a little bit more owned by Japan and Germany. But you've got $4 trillion that is not in the public hands, that are IOUs that we've put into Treasury bills, the Social Security Trust Fund, the Highway Trust Fund, and these amounts have been used for other things. You cannot get away with that if you were a publicly traded corporation, but that shell game was played. But worse than that $4 trillion that has to be replaced, we have this $53 trillion and more.
For decades, we have piled deficit upon deficit, mortgaging our future and our children's future for the temporary convenience of the present.
We won't leave it to our children and our grandchildren. Once it's balanced, we will start paying off the national debt.
There is plenty of blame to go around in both branches of the government and both parties. The time has come for the blame to end.
Mind-boggling statistics are issued constantly by the federal government about the yearly deficit, the accumulated debt of the federal government, and fluctuating interest rates. Do they really have any meaning to your life or that of your family? After all, we've lived for 15 years with the federal debt in the trillions. Should you be concerned? The answer is yes. Just take a look at your tax bill. A good portion of the money you pay goes toward paying interest payments alone on the national debt. But even greater problems threaten our country as we will learn tonight. When Americans cast their ballots last year, it was clear they were saying no to the excesses of our federal government over the last 30 years. But why have we been spending so much, and just where are our tax dollars going?
Every year, American citizens faithfully pay their federal income taxes, and every one of Tom Hardy's paychecks includes deductions from Medicare and Social Security. While families like the Hardys are struggling to balance their own books, the nation's deficit clock keeps ticking. Why should a nation that collects over $1.3 trillion in taxes and customs duties be constantly spending more than it takes in? Former Representative Joe DioGuardi, the only certified public accountant ever elected to Congress, blames the lack of professional accounting standards in the government.
Are we using a bookkeeping system and computer systems that are capturing everything we spend? Are we using reporting systems that give us a meaningful summary so we can understand the entity called the United States of America or the House of Representatives? And the answers to those questions are no. Are we using a budgeting system that points out unauthorized expenditures before the money is spent and accounted for, so we can stop that before it's too late? The answer is no.
When the incoming Republican Congress voted on the very first day to audit the House of Representatives, the accounting firm of Price Waterhouse discovered that the House, controlled by the Democrats for 40 years, lacks the organization and structure to periodically prepare financial statements that are accurate and reliable. It further alleged the financial management information was simplistic and ill-suited for an organization the size of the House.
And if Price Waterhouse has said that about a $1 billion budget, that's the House of Representatives, what about the rest of government? The $1.5 trillion with a T budget. I think this is a smoking gun.
And that's why freshman Congressman Mark Newman is taking aim at government waste. One example he cites:
a gymnasium being built on a military base where there was already a gymnasium. We called the base and they said, no, we don't need another one. $10.4 million is going to be spent there. We should have taken that $10.4 million out and not spent the taxpayers' money there.
But suppose that money was taken out. Congressional rules can hinder reform. Harrison Fox discusses a little-known fact.
You know, most people in America, including most members of Congress, think that when you cut an appropriations bill, when a program is cut, that you save money. Well, that doesn't happen. What happens is the money is then reallocated to another program. I mean, it's just nuts.
As our elected leaders have permitted federal spending to soar, our federal government has been overstepping its bounds. The Constitution stipulates the federal government's role should be limited to providing for the defense of our country, overseeing the money supply, and regulating interstate commerce. But should the federal government run a TV network, be a patron of the arts, finance housing projects, promote exports of farm products, finance scientific research by colleges, bureaucratize volunteerism, or be the nation's school marm?
Now we've come to the point where there might be, and people are talking about this as a very realistic alternative, is our kids and grandkids aren't going to have as good a life as we have today because we have not provided them with a debt-free or a reduced debt environment.